Slavan je izraz misterij života. Mada nam se život čini podrazumijevajućim iskustvom i pojavom, unutar kojeg se zbivaju sve druge pojave kojima se bavimo većinu vremena. U predasima između održavanja života, otkad je čovjeka našlo se i trenutaka za zapitati se koja je svrha postojanja. Postoji li dublji, nevidljivi smisao života? Ili je život smisao sam sebi? Danas se o tim pitanjima zna jednako malo kao i nekad. Bezbroj odgovora nude znanstvene, filozofske i duhovne discipline. Ne može se zamjeriti niti onima koji nastoje elegantno izbjeći to pitanje. Danac Martinus Tomsen, utemeljitelj Martinusova instituta i Martinusove spiritualne kozmologije, značajan dio svog opusa posvetio je upravo toj temi. Na tom području na kojem je puno pitanja i odgovora, neke od odgovora ponudit ćemo i ovdje. Na rubu znanosti. Dobro večer. Daniel Opačić, međunarodni je predavač Martinusove spiritualne kozmologije. Dobro večer. Ne družimo se po prvi puta, ali za one koji zapravo možda nisu, ali još uvijek imaju prilike negdje u bespućima interneta pogledati i našu emisiju od prije nekoliko godina o Martinusu, reći ću samo da je riječ o Martinusu Tomsenu, danskom, kako bi se reklo, ne mistiku, ne filozofu, već intuitivnom znanstveniku koji je ustanovio i danas postojeći institut Martinus. Pa, dobro večer, Daniele.
Dobro večer. Good evening and great pleasure to be here as always.
Danas ćemo iz bogatog spektra tih tema kojima se općenito bavio Martinus na svim tim granicama spoznaje, da tako kažemo, raspraviti o pitanju koje muči čovječanstvo od samog početka, ali eto, sada ćemo konačno riješiti to pitanje pa da možemo dalje. A riječ o temi koja je možda malo kompleksnog naziva kada se kaže svrha iskustva postojanja, mogli bismo reći, ili svrha života, jednostavnije. Koje poglede zapravo na to danas imamo, zbog čega taj misterij života i uopće o kojim razinama pričamo ostaje još danas, kako ga je najtočnije nazvati, misterij?
Okay, before we start, I'd like to indicate a few things. First on Martinus. He experienced extraordinary expansion of consciousness. It gave him access to the cosmic knowledge, so he spent the rest of the life that happened in 1921 just creating the Levetsbog, which is in Danish book of life, his main work, logic, eternal world picture, and many small books. Why that is important? Because he left to the humans, to our civilization, the platform for moral and intellectualized progressing. People would realize in the future how important it is to learn the Martinus cosmology for their own benefits. Now, it's impossible to squeeze this life riddle in one TV interview. So therefore, for those who are more curious, they can find much more on this and related subjects in my two books. One is Harbinger of the New World Culture, and another one is What Life is Telling Us, hopefully to be published or translated and published for the Zagreb Book Trade Fair this fall. And second, Martinus cosmology cannot be against anyone. On the contrary, Martinus cosmology helps those that have no logic to spot their own illogic in order to realign with the cosmic forces. Those that find offensive or insulted by some statements here, this is just question of local perspective. Now, finally,
vratimo se toj triviji, svrsi života.
Yeah. We live in an intellectualized jungle. So this derailed, delusional, scary, high-tech dictatorship in acceleration. So seen from the local perspective, controllers want to neutralize our free will in order to get consent, but without asking. As a result, we already have the majority as a cosmic corpse, and minority, so-called self-certified, educated, and cultured, they just are in infancy of the cosmic ignorance. To prove that, They have no clue about their own identity, no clue on cosmic laws and principles, and no clue on inner structure of life. So we all experience so many things, not having the knowledge what we in fact experience. For instance, sudden strike of bad luck, illness, death, birth, falling in and out of love. Why so? Because we are in the last phase of evolution into selfishness, and in the first phase of evolution towards the altruism. So we are kind of a mixed bag of good and evil manifestations. So how official science could be out of that imperfect and unfinished picture? It's impossible. Martinus, not without reason, called them low intellectuality science. Why? Because first, they try to measure everything, and life doesn't belong to that category. But you quantify with something created. So to give an example, it's like if you measure the weight, dimensions, and chemistry of the book, you cannot expect to figure out the meaning, intellectualized beauty of the book. The same thing with mapping the aura. It leads nowhere. And then the official science doesn't care about morale. It's very important. So they not only promote, they proliferate the killing principle. And third, they possess something which we call arrogant primitivism. It's like, imagine that they are the highest intelligence in existence. So it's like a bunch of cells that believes that it's in charge of entire organisms. So liver or kidneys do not exist. Spiritual bodies, who cares? Never heard of. And despite the warning that left behind some advanced civilizations that left this planet long ago seeking the better conditions for their own development, and those are the so-called wonder structures like pyramids. They're done through materialization process. And again, as a reminder, don't be so arrogant. But people didn't get it. So that's the reason why mystery of life remains the mystery.
Već ste ponešto objasnili iz te perspektive. Međutim, kad pričamo o misteriju života, možemo krenuti od ovog dojma materijalnog koji imamo. Pa koje su to u stvari, rekli bismo danas, prevladavajući stavovi vezani uz pokušaje znanstvenog kvantificiranja svijeta i odgovora na misterij života iz te perspektive? Možda nekoliko primjera koji bi pokazali zornije kako zapravo stvari stoje.
Yeah, first, the official science has no definition of life. They have many definitions, believing that they define the life. In fact, they define something created. So the prevailing biological definition of life is that it's an organic phenomenon that distinguishes between organic and lifeless entities. And we know that the universe is alive. Matter is movement. And consciousness is aggregated experience of the change in movement, in matter. Organic matter is governed by day and habitual consciousness and has obvious movement. Inorganic matter is governed by habitual consciousness only and has micro-movement, like stone, not noticeable. Why? Because it's governed by discarnate beings which are deeply immersed into its own memory from the previous cosmic cycle. Proof of this divine connection is extraordinary beauty you can find in any crystallizations, for instance, snowflake or semi-precious stone. Also, almost perfect memory capacity that you can find in water and in silicon dioxide used by IT industry. And second, the official science has problem with the life within life principle acceptance. And that's the something that creates the cosmic order based on this mutual interdependency of all living beings. And it's like you are, for instance, in final approach to Summit International Airport, looking down. No one calls this unpredictable movement of the cars as random. Why? Because we know that the I governs the consciousness, and consciousness in turn animates the body movement in order to give the predictable commands to the car, right? So David is making the right turn to fill out the tank in a gas station. Vanessa is making U-turn in order to pick up her date. And, for instance, Daniel is just continuing to reach his gym. If you have unexperienced researcher looking from the wrong perspective down, he would always misconclude, as quantum physicists do, looking the micro world. Looking the opposite, the macro world is even a worse situation. Why? Because we strictly depend our existence on 3 cosmic cycle beings above us. And they said this is the dead world. And for instance, the Earth, our first neighbor, is rounded in shape because it's less physical, more introvert than we are. And, but it has all other vital functions as we do. For instance, evaporation, condensation is breathing. Then ocean and rivers are bloodstream. Then rocky formation are skeleton. Then this production in abundance of fertile soil, gas, and oil, metal and minerals, it's a work of muscle metabolism. Then you have telepathic communication, even sexual functions, but it's beyond the scope of this program. And also, Earth has own mentality and sense of time and space, which is different than in us. And Earth will also one day demise in physical terms. Then we have another misjudging by the official science is that you have practically that they identify physical body which is created with the life. As a catastrophic fallout of this misconception is you have wars, you have homicides, and you have suicide. All that are gloomy mental conditions. If you make someone's life short, expect that your life will be shortened too. And by the way, the organ is physical, is just the vehicle for experiencing of life. So all these people will first migrate to the transit zone called purgatory in the higher worlds, where they need to purify. They cannot go into transit in the higher worlds with their negative tendency in consciousness. And then, like a dog entering the library, sniffs around and gets out. They stay very short in this higher world and then coming back when in a physical realm where account is settled, where learning exists, doesn't exist in the spiritual world. So they come back much more aggravated than before killing. And just derivation from the same is official science idea that through random combination of chemicals, an explosion, you create life. So how this alchemic product feels, thinks, or has a will, it's mystery for them. So it's the same as, for instance, through random combination of chemicals, an explosion, you get, in a printing house, you get a book, SQL or spy novel. Is that possible? And then this chair cannot cry, this table cannot laugh. Software never say, I created myself. So created thing is subordinated to the creator and is created with a purpose. So why they identify, I still don't know. Next of logic irregularities is any theory and origin of life. If you have origin, you have termination. So logical question, what was before, what will be after? Then you have creator. And logical question is who created the creator. Creationists gave them a fantastic example how wrong they think. Even to get this simple life form, it's like entering some kiosk, buying instantly winning lottery ticket composed of 7 numbers with 3 and 4 digits. That's probability to get it. This Martinus cosmology will add up to this that you have to enter the same kiosk a few billion times in a row and buy similar value ticket. Why? Because each, even small life unit is composed of myriads smaller life units which are identical in a cosmic structure. And what would be last of illogical things? For instance, one day they would claim authorship over life. So they would create in a lab the conditions for life to reincarnate. Like they have problems to figure out how come the tropical fish appeared suddenly in the waters of Antarctic. But there was volcanic explosion in the bottom. That's why the fish didn't swim down from the tropical waters. So,
drugim riječima, ribe su se stvorile tamo gdje su prilagođene okolišu koji se novo stvorio. Kada već spominjemo taj pogled na svijet znanstvene naravi, možemo isto tako razmotriti alternativni pogled na ovom svijetu religijske naravi koji se bavi pitanjima kojima se zapravo i ne bave akademije. To su znači pitanja smrti, pitanja raja, pakla i slično. Sve je naravno povezano sa pitanjem duše, besmrtnosti u raznim oblicima. Pa na koji način se i kako unutar tog Martinusovog koncepta logike i te logike o kojoj vi pričate prikazuju ti koncepti koji pričaju upravo o tim najraširenim narativima o paklu, duši, nekad je kazna, nekad nije, no što tu ima za izvući ili možda za izbjeći po vama?
I got it. First, the misconception about the death.
Ono bi bile kao znanstvene tegobe, a sad ako sam dobro naslutio slijede duhovne tegobe.
Yeah. The official science, they argue among their own ranks if death is a single act or the process. Death is in fact the birth into a spiritual zone of existence, as the conception is birth into physical zone of existence. It's just reclothing in matter. And the spiritual zone and physical zones are just rest and work zones within reincarnation cycle. It's very simple. So that, in those terms, how they believe, doesn't exist. Martinus called the sleep as younger brother of death. Why? Because during the sleep and in any altered state of consciousness, for instance, fainting or trance or anesthesia, the day consciousness migrates from its personal residence with physical body to the next most developed spiritual body, there are 5 of them, which is body of feeling. There is permanent residence. And why we sleep? Because during the day, because of the life force associated with the thinking process, which is irregular in most, we damaged and make fatigue on our nerves. They need to repairs, like a runway, overnight repair in order to be ready for taking offs and landings in the morning. And we also dream, by the way, we should mention that subject. And dreaming is day consciousness within spiritual sphere. But what people call dreams is something else. It's collision between day and night consciousness, and it comes because you don't sound sleep or you are awake in artificial way, let's say, alarm. Now, the physical death is total electrical collapse, where not only day consciousness detaches from the body, but also the I, innermost cells of self, disassociates from the body. So the micro world cannot handle the macro being function. And, but micro world continue to live. And people often ask why we must die. And the answer is relatively simple, because the I, during the conception, connects and attracts the next in line, the most developed, the spiral beings that belong to the spiral below us, which are the organs, which are evolutionarily compatible with us. And then, in turn, they invite the micro-world. And all of them work in harmony in order to support the well-being of the macro-being, us. And the reason for dying is because the organs have shorter satiation cycle than macro-being. So it has a will. And in one moment, he'll simply give up on life and induce the domino effect, electrical collapse. On the other side, people also ask, so why we must age? Because it's now common knowledge that at least the physical organism is replaced, let's say, within the 2 months. Again, due to illogical way of mentalizing things, we put extra pressure on physical and mental substance that our physical and mental bodies are built. We also are exposed to a tremendous amount of physical and mental pollution, and we also consume the substances that have no natural saturation. As a result, we invite that way the most robust primitive microworld, which becomes antagonistic toward the organs, creates disharmony, and causes the electrical collapse. So that doesn't exist, but exists spiritual death. And that's the culmination of or peak of darkness. Why? Because then our cosmic consciousness is in a dormant state. So we cannot distinguish between finished and unfinished. Construction site or the building we can, but in some abstract categories we cannot. And also we cannot distinguish between eternal and temporal, only temporal. And now you mentioned this interesting question on hell and paradise. So people would like to live, if possible, forever. So it's one single life is not enough. That was noticed by religious authorities, and also the fact that people cannot behave up to the Christ being standards, moral standards. So they entered the trade long ago, offering the paradise during the day of judgment. If you repent, loyal to that organization, if you're loyal, and if you baptized yourself and a few other things, conditions, right? So offering the paradise, in fact, they offered them the hell. Why? Because the law of hunger satiation works everywhere. So if you're exposed to the sun, for instance, in one moment you would desire the opposite, which is shadow. And there is no shadow on the horizon, never. And another thing, they disregard the existence of the universal justice, meaning you cannot transfer your own sins to someone else, and also this energy cannot vanish. On the other side, the hell concept, God created someone who is imperfect. Because of his imperfect, he created the sins within one single life, and then for semi-eternity finishes in a hell. Pretty sadistic option. And don't forget that the keynote of the universe is love. So it's obvious this is man-made construct. And just you also mentioned the question of soul. There are two world famous authors, almost gurus, and I asked both of them in private conversations, so tell me, what is the soul? Because they have, both of them, they have the soul in a heading of the book, the title. And one was honest and said, Daniel, to tell you frankly, I don't know, but it sounds good and pays well. So the other side, the religious authorities, or major religion, they confuse between the spirit, soul, I, ego.
To je u svakom slučaju pomalo nalik širenju slobodnog tržišta. Prije smo za dušu imali samo dvije zainteresirane strane, sad vidimo da su se i drugi uključili u trgovinu. Kad smo već čuli sve što nije unutar Martinusove spiritualne kozmologije, što bi onda bio život ili kako god zvali to naše iskustvo koje je stalno u promjeni i koje zapravo nam na neki način, koliko god da je oko nas i u nama, uvijek izmiče kroz prste kada ga pokušamo definirati?
Okay, I will start from the beginning from Martinus' definition of life. That's permanent renewal of cosmic consciousness, supported by the contrast principle, which is derivation of principle of limitation, and based on a sensing capacity which is in function of the pole structure. Or this is alteration of eternal rhythm of the change between the peak of darkness and peak of light, supported by law of hunger satiation, primal desire, and pleasure principle. Now to explain because this is difficult. We cannot sit and stand. We cannot sleep and be awakened. We cannot be exceptionally happy and very sad. We cannot run and walk at the same time. So must exist some subsequence. So all these contrasts in the same intensity, they nullify each other, creating zero effect. So something, this is the core of our self-identity, which has everything, appears as nothing. So not even cosmic senses. With the cosmic senses, we can spot the I of each of us. But I cannot be just at the level of existence, because its absolute stillness is eternity, infinity, timeless, spaceless. So I must create the contrast to itself, which is the time and space dimension, the area of moment. And in order to create it, this engaged creative principle that splits the wholeness and 6 zones of existence. And what's the purpose of it? Because everything has its own purpose. In order to get the mental separation line between us and the rest, it, within us and around us, which is the entire universe. Without that, the experience of life will be impossible. Also to perfect our life experience. So it's also important to point out that we never, under any condition, experience life. We experience the consequences of life. But this is another subject again. So unless we are in a divine kingdom, so in where the dominated energy of intuition, we don't have the idea of the wholeness. So our view are partial, our view are biased, our view are, I would say, illusionary. I will illustrate now why. For instance, if I do a movement like this, I create some physical space and some time associated. Or if I move mentally from here to, let's say, Copenhagen, Denmark, I create some mental space and time associated with it. Let's say 1 second. This 1 second is divisible at 2, and each half at 2, and 2 ad infinitum. The same with the space. So each limitation has limits in itself. For instance, I've put my hand in a 5 degrees tank, and then after 5 minutes it's 20. I feel warm. If I put another one in 35, and then at 20, I feel coldish. So my assessment depends on my previous experience. And then, for instance, I'm a car body designer. So I copy my idea to blueprints, and then borrowing physical force to create in the industry the body of some new car. And different buyers, different potential buyers, they see this body in a different way. So you have double copies. And then, for instance, one woman is realistically, exceptionally, objectively beautiful. But the universe makes sure that during her passage through the entire cosmic spiral cycle, she will experience her own contrast, when she will be extraordinarily ugly. And then, for instance, a question of fixed perspective, which indicates that we are limited within limitation. It's looking the micro world. It's like someone is putting you 1 centimeter from the picture. You don't see much. And looking the micro world is too remote. It's like putting you 1 kilometer, 1 mile from the picture. You even don't know that one exists. And one cannot say that, for instance, physical injury or let's say, dispute with the lover, or hunger impulse or sleeping impulse, that should be neglected. On the contrary, it's very important to react on that. So we live, this is realistic, right? So we live in a world of realistic illusions. And to add up to it, it's very important. It's, for instance, the road is 6 meters wide here and on the horizon. And also the road signs are the same size, but the one closest to us appear as the tallest. Why? Because of the perspective principle, physical perspective principle. In analogy, the cosmic perspective principle, which is in charge of smooth transition from limitless into limited, makes sure that what we get in the foreground, we overrate or overvalue, and what we get in background, some even ignore. And we have this so-called the cosmic perspective sphere. Something stays out. But any feeling, idea, concept, anything that enters into our day consciousness must pass through the 5 stages. From the periphery, outermost point of the cosmic sensing, through the focal point, and then to get out on the other side. So something that is in the periphery is something people like from some reason, because it's unknown, it's blurred, it's unclear, it's mystical, but has no value. Then even a religious principle, which is the next phase, when people strongly believe in something they cannot grasp, has more value. And then even closer, when you have phenomena that you can distinguish if it's going to produce pleasure or displeasure, or even closer, where it's clear an analytical idea about phenomena. This is the science only in a physical field. That's their field. And then finally in a focal point where you feel the bliss. Why? Because of the vicinity of logic and cosmic logic and love. And that's where Martinus was. That's the reason why we have all rights to say for the Martinus cosmology that it is science, because it's the highest available knowledge and that focus phenomena. And then it goes out. Sorry. And it's like driving the car, moonless night, curvy road, what's behind you, you don't care. What you focus is where is your hope, where your headlights, what your headlights can illuminate. What's further down in the road, you also don't care.
Pa kada se već bavimo teškim pitanjima života i njegove svrhe, zašto bismo propustili skoro klasično pitanje dobra i zla? Mnogi su ljudi napisali 100 knjiga o podrijetlu zla. Puno manje njih se pitalo ne zašto postoji zlo, nego zašto postoji dobro. Može se i tako gledati. No, ti koncepti dobra i zla već su se na mnoge načine pokazali upitnima, s obzirom da su ljudi u iskustvu vidjeli koliko puta je nešto zlo stvorilo nešto dobro je stvorilo nešto zlo i uopće koncepti zla i dobra često puta ne podnose vremenske procjene. Na koji način se gleda unutar Martinusove kozmologije na pitanje dobra i zla?
You said good thing that no one asks why good exists, although the best question would be why both exist, and we always exist. So Martinus was very strict on that. He said you cannot criticize those that are permanent source of human manifestations, and you cannot praise those that always do the good. Why? Because they do not decide where they stand in evolution. And theoretically, if cosmic ignorance would cease to exist, all evil will cease to exist. And if you look for the evil, first look to the unfinished part of your own consciousness. Basically, Martinus sent a clear message that we are the utmost source of evil. And what is evil? It's an attempt to sabotage the life and well-being of any other living being. And where this drive comes from, this comes from one-pole structure. So this is insatiated desire first for the opposite sex, and then it spreads out or expands to territory, to power hunger, and so on. And what is important to say that as cosmology or Martinus defined the unpleasant good, evil, and pleasant good is good. And they're necessary pairs in the contrast principle. But also it's important to know that because of there exists one gap. We can learn intelligence in a school, training, but you cannot learn to develop the feelings, human feelings. So you must suffer, you must go through the pain. And that's the reason why people use intelligence in order to manipulate those conditionally speaking, less developed. I will focus now on a deeper explanation of this good and evil phenomena. If you look one of the 6 zones of existence. In each of them, in fact, exists the peak of darkness and peak of light. Beings that reside in those peaks mentally, they feel superior. For instance, animal predator feels superior grabbing other animals and eating even, which is the culmination of principle of selfishness. On the other side, in a peak of darkness, overdeveloped human-animal predator uses his perfect grabbing, manipulating, cheating, lying skills, and he enjoys. If you would suggest to one of them that grabs from the others in order to buy overpriced pile of metal, plastic, and glass called, let's say, last model of BMW or Ferrari, that he misused the life opportunity to develop humanly and intellectually for own benefits and benefits the other, he would look at you that you came from another planet. It's like teaching crocodile to switch from the meat diet to be fruitarian. So it's impossible. They cannot relate to anything that it's opposite ideal from where they are. But I would concentrate on those intermediary, transitional people. Because why? First, they already suffered a great deal because they have no rationale in order to spot their own irregularities. So they are not in alignment with the cosmic forces. So they always have, on one side, those more primitive that bother them and attack them, and those more foxy that manipulate them. So they feel as a victim. And also those more primitive and more foxy also feel as victims because they feel the release of dark karma they created in the past or in the present. So all of them look the world as a strange enemy place. And they would like to uniformize this world. They have this fossilized, calcified conception how other should look like and behave. And all of them have different concepts. So they feel betrayed by life, bitter, disappointed. And where it comes from? There is a cosmic principle, or the law of the attraction and repulsion of energies, which is responsible for the cycle of matter in the universe. So we know that it's perfect building up of our organism and breaking down, or any organism in a universe. The problem is that there exists one principle that is derived from that law. It's called sympathy and antipathy. In primitive people, we have excess of energy of expansion, and it's manifested in an illogical, unwilled, ecstatic exaggeration in desire. And when you have excess or surplus in one side, you must have minus on the other side. And there should be sensitivity and not total bankruptcy of the feelings. We all know that, for instance, people that freshly fallen in love, they're insensitive for what's going on around them, right? Yeah. So in worst case scenario, you have even animosity and antipathy and animosity. There should be humane, good feelings. And this is not for a long time. This is unstable condition. And another, if we have time, I don't know.
Slabo.
Yeah. It's the proof, example, that we are the utmost source of how we look the life in negative side. For instance, if you are entering some debased, totally corrupt dictatorship and something happened to your personal belongings, stolen, passport stolen, car vandalized, you have problem with secret police, don't blame them because they're in the optimum of their mental operating. Blame yourself because you enter such cage.
Prije ste spominjali taj model ja, danas ga se već i prepoznaje iz mnogo kuteva i psiholoških i drugih, znači da je to jedan model interpretacije iskustava koji mi zovemo ja. I nije nova misao da u stvari na neki način animiramo mnogobrojne lažne identitete koje smo skupili tijekom života za razne potrebe, za razne uloge i sl. U kojoj mjeri se unutar Martinusove kozmologije raspravljalo to pitanje tih fantomskih naših vlastitih projekcija o tome tko smo i što smo? I kakva je, tu se negdje krije, rekao bih, neki od krucijalnih odgovora upravo na pitanju tog modela koji ne prepoznajemo kao model, nego ga jednostavno doživljavamo kao nas same.
If viewers grasp this explanation, they would have much better mental life, much more comfortable. They would eliminate the idea about enemy and accept themselves and the others much better. This is what you ask, the crucial question of our identity, true identity. We are not just dropping leaf. We are branch, trunk, and the root, all of it. And imagine, for instance, the huge light ball, perforated, where to the holes rays go in all directions for eternity into infinity. That's a symbolic, graphic explanation of our unity with each other on a core level. What we experience as let's say, warm, beautiful, lawyer, snake, tulip, God, Martinus, is just temporary manifestation indicating the position and the cosmic spiral cycle of that being, or better even, it's sense impression built on our perspective principle. And I will try to illustrate how someone that doesn't have cosmic identity, any identity, partitions our own identity with our consent due to cosmic ignorance. That's the government, state. Nature didn't mark the borders. So this is just concentration of power, virtual and realistic, physical. And in nowadays, the state, with the exception of few, which take care of citizenry, more are in the service of special interest groups. In some cases, you can call mafia. So that's the purpose. For instance, you are filling one government form. They ask you for the first thing, give a name. And basically, they don't care. You can change 500 times because they give you the label which is ID number. And then they ask you for the sex. We are not anymore animals, so male and female doesn't work. Should be, what's your primary pole? And anyway, we entering the next cosmic spiral cycle, our primary pole switches. So we, in the two cosmic spiral cycles, we have equal access to experiences as male and female. And then they ask you for the age. We are ageless, but body has some age. And then they ask you for the birthplace. So each country has beasts and saints and anything in between in various proportions. When you come to the border, they judge you by the covers of your passport. If you have more passports, there are different judgments. And then crucial, it's ethnicity and race. For instance, some heavy-duty, hardcore nationalist, he hates some ethnicity and race. The new universe makes sure that he will reincarnate in a nation, in ethnicity and the race he hates the most. And then back and forth, until he completely dilutes this nationalistic poison in himself. And the people in a few centuries from now will wonder how these people in the 21st century were so primitive, killing the other on behalf of ethnicity. And then you have occupation. We're killers because we need 30% of energy for killing, especially in carnivores, in order to release these photon life units in order to recharge our life force. And also people that are gossiping, slander, hate. It's all kind of killing. And income. Income now depends on the mass consumption. Mass consumption is manipulated, and usually what's in demand has no value. But our real knowledge, our skills, we do not inherited as popular belief from the parents. We transfer from life to life. What we inherited is, I don't know, iris color or dental condition or hair.
Ovdje se dotičemo principa koje se obično stavljaju u sferu duhovnih i zna se da danas postoji u zadnjih 50 godina razne ponude, da tako kažemo, na polju duhovnosti. No, Martinusov koncept se zove intuitivna znanost. Pa što mislite o raznim vidovima pokušaja na neki način boljeg, da tako kažem, provlačenja kroz život, ako ne i pokušaja da se neki iskreno poprave, ili tako, kroz razne škole duhovnosti i uopće što znači taj pojam duhovnost u kontekstu svega što ste rekli?
Look, Martinus scanned that area very precisely. There are life opportunity, but for some, this physical zone of hunting is restricted. So they switch to spiritual zone, so they become spiritual capitalists and classic capitalists using low-life skills in order to fish minds and souls of uninitiated, let's call them that way, or spiritual proletariat. And they might have some low psychic skills developed through consumption of hallucinating substances, or through mental training, meditation is one of them, or through mediums. But the proof that they are not authentic, not real, is that they cannot connect in fundamental way anything between A and B, B and C, and so on. Their phenomenological explanation is too trivial. And in addition to that, they endanger themselves because they're not equipped with the infrastructure to receive even this borderline time and space dimensionality glimpses. So it's like charging your mobile phone, putting in a plug into a street transformer and 10,000 volts. It doesn't work. So the real high psychic skill is intuition, but you need to purify yourself in moral, intellectual level in order to access such glimpses. And those people with low life skills, they camouflage themselves behind the state leaders or celebrities or influencers or life coaches or gurus.
Na kraju krajeva uvijek se dođe do pitanja praktičnosti. Zašto se isplati biti dobar, ako se uopće isplati?
Okay, first, the happiness is depending on our mental perspective. So regardless of outside or inside mental conditions. And really it pays off to be good and loving. Why? First, you get cosmic immunity. You are free from illness. You are free from sudden and unexpected discharge of your own negative karma energy, and you are open to the cosmic glimpses. And I guess this is enough to be good, right?
Na kraju se možemo opet vratiti na početak, s obzirom da je ovdje bio pokušaj objašnjenja te svrhe života ili svrhe iskustva postojanja, ako tako nazovemo život. Nakon svih ovih perspektiva i pogleda iz raznih kuteva, što bi na kraju unutar Martinusove kozmologije zapravo bila, tako kažemo, svrha života?
Yeah, that's a serious question.
Kao reklamni slogan.
Yeah. First, just to reiterate, the life is eternal. Has no cause, so cannot be purged, even if someone would have this mad idea. And life is what we are, not what we have. Now, the purpose of life, like anything else, depends on a perspective principle. In, let's say, some deep cosmic analysis, life has no purpose. If it would have one, then what would be replacement? Humans and other living beings wouldn't like a death as a replacement. In absolute terms, the purpose of life is perpetual renewal of the cosmic consciousness in a variety of the new ways. In the level down, in relative terms, the purpose of life is mastering remaining higher basic energies of existence. In our local level, the purpose of life is just to develop gentility in the heart, to be mental sunshine for self and for the others. That way, if we are imagine that all together do the same, we pave the way for the creation of the new world culture where people will finally start to love each other, which is now not the case.
Daniele, hvala na i optimizmu i realizmu i do neke sljedeće prilike doviđenja.
Thank you.
Hvala i vama na pažnji. Eto, vječna pitanja zahtijevaju jednako tako vječne odgovore. Tako i potraga za misterijem života i postojanja i dalje traje za svakog pojedinačno u njegovom vlastitom svijetu, no i kolektivno sve do razine temeljnih principa Niti pitanja, niti odgovori u dugoj povijesti ljudskog roda nisu novi, ali ih se može reći na toliko puno načina. Oni najsveobuhvatniji odgovori svakako vode prema razumijevanju procesa percepcije i interpretacije, jer što drugo uopće imamo na raspolaganju u našoj vlastitoj sferi utjecaja. I koga imamo boljeg od samog sebe da se zaželimo laku noć.